Doesn't that music always make us sound way cooler than?
It sounds very cool.
I feel like we sound the appropriate amount of cool.
Do we? Okay.
That's right.
Hello, welcome back to another Paint and Chat live stream. I'm your host, Miranda. With me, I've got a couple of painters joining us tonight, one of which is our illustrious Painter Flo, aka the Painter Flo on Instagram.
Hello, hello.
Working on a white scar on bikes.
Presumably, that's the hand with the fingernail polish.
I don't know.
Hey, if I had known, I would have brought fingernail polish.
Just to confuse our audience. So rude. And then, of course, disembodied voice here.
Hello.
Chatting away. And then we've got our special guest tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Warbudgies here in the house.
Good evening, Albuquerque.
What evening? What on earth are you working on there?
I am working on a giant that I got at Warfaire Weekend. And he's nearly a foot tall because I knew that Flo was going to bring something majestic and beautiful. And if I had to compete, I have to bring something absurd. So,
I mean, I could have brought something bigger, but I didn't really want to have to set it up so that I had the space to work on it because there's only so much space over here.
That's right. You have a Night Titan you're supposed to be painting at some point, right?
Yeah, I've got that. I've still got, what's his face? Nurgle, God, dude, Age of Sigmar.
Mortarion?
No, not Mortarion.
Are you talking about a Great Unclean one?
Yes, Great Unclean one. I've still got one of those.
Chunky guys.
Those guys are cool.
All right.
The bowling ball, yeah.
I feel like the next step for miniatures is if for people starting to figure out how to add odors to paints. You know what I mean? So that your miniature will also smell just like what you're painting, so that the Great Unclean one has an even more accurate presence on the table.
I think Justin's got it. That's a model. It's only a model. 1 foot, and it's for what, D&D you said?
Yes, so it's from Full Moon Labyrinth, and I think he's a fire giant who's been scaled up because he's kind of absurd now.
Chunky boy with his lovely soft pink flesh.
Yeah, I didn't want to do the cliche lava flesh, so we're just going to do like a stone effect on his arm and regular skin.
Wow. I have a Mortarion who's been primed green for about 6 years. I mean, technically it's not unpainted at that point.
You know what? It's not gray plastic.
Exactly.
Okay? That's the important thing.
That's how you get around your pile of shame. You're like, well, if I just prime it all.
You can't say he's not painted.
He's not started. He's started now, as opposed to an unstarted thing. That's how you, yeah. Very.
I mean,
he's painted green. He's halfway there.
Yeah.
Priming is.
I don't know that there was any green on the Mortarion I painted. It was purples and blues and all sorts. Oh no, there's a little bit of green on the armor.
Oh my God, where did this? What is going on with my audience? Great Unclean one got got conversations started about smelly.
I feel like a
models or-
great unclean one smells a lot like malt
Dirty
vinegar,
socks.
like malt vinegar, which does smell like dirty
Oh.
socks.
Malt vinegar is pretty horrible. Valerian root is also gym sock smell. It's one of the worst for sure.
It just smells like weed.
There you go.
Which you can hardly get away from that smell in Albuquerque anymore. Thanks. to
Or in
our-
Alaska, turns out.
Really? Ugh,
Yeah,
I am sorry. That stinks. Quite literally.
quite.
that's right.
Yeah. The one downside to when we go to the movie theaters, which hasn't been very often this year. That's usually what you just smell in the parking lot before you go in. Like, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Although
Anyway,
we did see a really good movie this last week.
we did. You want to talk about it?
We could talk about Heretic, which I thought was really good. In fact, you know what? It's a little bit, I kind of associate it because the two main characters are these two Mormon girls on their Mormon mission. And I always associate Mormons with wargaming now because almost like 50% of our wargaming friends all somehow seem to be Mormon. Not sure how that works, but everything from mini wargaming to blue table painting to like, just there's a lot. I don't know
Yeah.
if Mormons really latch on to wargaming, but they really seem to.
That has been a thing. I mean, mini wargaming, that's how we really kind of got to know them, and either Mormons or former Mormons anyway.
Yeah,
No,
it's
that's how
like I don't think anyone here in the here in our stream is Mormon, but man, we got a lot of Mormon friends like through the wargaming hobby.
You know, it's funny because the guy who introduced me to Warhammer was a kid who lived on our block named Matt, and he was also a Mormon.
Huh.
So it was just circle of life, I guess.
Circle of wargaming life.
Circle
But yeah,
of
so these
wargaming.
two girls in the movie, they didn't know anything about wargaming, which is why, they had such a hard time, like getting through this. I feel like the main character probably became a wargamer afterwards. That's what I think.
Okay.
That's in the end credit scene. She's just at a Warhammer store. But no, this is actually really good. Well, it does have miniatures.
Technically, yes.
Kind of. I mean, he does have them in there. He is.
It's a bit of a war game.
In fact, at one point, he is like carving one. You're watching him carve another
that's
miniature.
right, he is, isn't he?
Yeah.
That is
No,
next
he-
level
he-
hobbyist.
Right.
Yeah. Grant definitely brings that. He is delightful.
Yeah, he's actually really good in it's really, really well done. The acting is superb, but it's a really good, interesting movie. It's what do we call it?
Philosophical horror.
Yeah, philosophical horror, which
So
was
it's not psychological, which would be more like individualistic. It's more philosophical horror in that it's wrestling with bigger ideas. So
yeah.
that's my take on it. So there you go. That's our official recommendation. Starting the stream off right. Go see Heretic. It's good. It's really good.
Now Chuckaroo Bob here, like I feel like this is the obvious next direction to go. Knows an actual combat nun.
And her name's Joan. Oh, I
That's
love it.
fantastic.
That's kind of
She's been
awesome.
doing Wow, she deserves a miniature in her honor. That's awesome.
Like a kung fu miniature. She's like in mid, like head kick.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Anyway, let's catch up and say hi to everybody in the chat. Mr. Kyle, appreciate you joining us tonight. Good to see you. Good to see you, Shale. You working on anything tonight? Or you, Thomas? Thomas, you were at Warfaire Weekend, right?
Oh, yeah, he was.
Yeah. So I want to finish saying hi to folks in the chat, and then you can tell us about Warfare Weekend. Mr. Kyle Chuckaroo Bob, yes, we said hi. Savage Brewski, welcome. Paul, we love having you. Gotta have you on one of these days. I'm slowly convincing him. Pink Tilwyn, yo. Plunderden, hey, good to see you too. Shale, gonna be assembling the remainder of my Le Chevault for Moonstone, a Witch in Time Coven, and some sagers. Oh man, Hello to all the painters out there. Just say not me.
So JP Got Rockets is asking if it's a suspense like something of the Hitchcock flavor or Ghost House, or is it some gory, icky horror? There's a slight, tiny bit of gore, but it's not much at all. Is anyone here familiar with Ghost House?
No.
No.
Okay, I'm not either. If anything that I recognize on here, it's definitely more of a Hitchcock flavor. Like, it's way more suspense. In fact, if you could liken it to something even more like Silence of the Lambs level of horror.
Yeah, something along that line, definitely more so. And yeah, there is some blood, but I don't think there's anything. It's not like Terrifier or
no,
or a Tarantino film.
No, not at all. No, it's hardly any gore at all in it, honestly.
Mr. Kyle says, I'm working on a statuette 200 millimeter. It's a wonderful Zero statuette from Mega Man franchise. It's for a gift. Oh, I love it. Love it. All right. So Thomas, on Warfare Weekend, I played 2 narrative events for War Machine at Warfare Weekend and ran 2 sessions of Iron Kingdoms role-playing with Warbudgies as one of the players. Ooh, how was that?
It was super fun, and I'm going to preface this by saying that Thomas is one of my favorite people.
He's wonderful, isn't he?
Just in general, awesome guy. I show up to his table to play in his game, and he basically points to one of the characters and was like, "This one's for you." And I pick it up, and it is this deranged, unhinged, completely unstable mechanic with lightning gloves.
Yes.
And he was right. It was amazing.
That is amazing. How perfect.
It was indeed for me.
Yes.
Did you win the RPG? We
absolutely won. Because we blew up everything that was possible to blow up. We had a guy cast whatever the unlimited ammo spell is on a cannon. Because why would you not do that?
Well, yeah, that's fair.
It was a really good time. It was a busy table too. It was like 7 or 8 people.
Oh wow, that's a lot of people to wrangle, Thomas. I know. Like for Valhalla, our DM Scotty will handle like 6 to 8 people, and it gets chaotic being in those groups because everybody wants to like get their say in or get their action in or team up or do some combo or something. And you're like, it's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, he handled it like a champ.
As I would expect, nothing less. He said, in the painting competition, I got silver for my Gong Farmer family, and my Reef Troll won gold and best in show. Oh, awesome, Thomas! You're very talented, so you definitely deserve that.
That Reef Troll was absurd too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love it. That's so awesome.
And then he also played the game of Riot Quest.
Oh, Riot Quest. Oh, okay. We don't know if that one's getting supported into Steamforge, do we?
No, we haven't found out yet. But every year, Thomas brings this beautiful 3D board that he built of one of the maps. And he and I have a throwdown at Warfare Weekend every year. It's become a tradition by now.
So JP Got Rockets asked if DM Scotty runs 68 people. I feel like he could. I feel like he could if he put his mind to it. I've seen him run a table.
Just be like, I'm never coming back again.
He'll just do one of the horror one-shots and everybody will die real fast. It's fine.
Oh, yeah. His snuff film, like.
Yeah. That one was pretty good.
That was messed up and awesome. And I almost won, except Aaron. Had to go back and save Aaron, and then I died.
Freaking
what
Aaron.
Was the what's that?
I love
card
that Dylan
game?
Died because he broke a camera.
Oh,
broke
yeah.
the first camera before they gave the rules, and then broke a camera on the way out, and they sniped him.
Cheated.
What's that card game where you're like you got to quickly snatch up the next card or slap the next one? Is it skip bow or slap bow or something like that?
Slapjack?
Is it slapjack?
I don't remember.
Slapjack is like whenever there's a jack that comes out, you can.
Yeah, everybody's just quickly snatching at the cards or throwing them down or something. But
I'm thinking spoons is what I think of.
I don't think it's spoons. But it's
way
like
more
I think
violent.
of that. Like whatever way you have to run the role playing game, it just has to be like that, just to keep it running fast enough. Whereas like everyone doesn't get a turn. It's just people have to quickly like throw down some sort of action or card or something that describes their turn, just to keep 68 people moving that quickly.
Oh my gosh, what a mess that would be. I mean, we've handled close to that many people for our week-long werewolf campaign at Valhalla.
That's true. But that's handled over the course of like 5 days.
It's over the week. Savage. I finally cracked open the 3D printer my sis birthday gifted me in May. I have about 20 infantry and about to finish a tank for 1-page rules. Sweet. Also finding rehab for 3D printing. Love it.
1-page rules HDF. What is the HDF? Is that the sci-fi one? The stands for something, but I don't know.
I don't know. I don't play
the Hokey Defense Force.
I barely.
Hokey Defense. There you go.
It's Human Defense Force, apparently.
Slightly different. Is it? Hey, that's actually really close.
Super, super close. That is hilarious. Imperial Guard equivalent. Ah, okay. I barely play 40K, so the idea of playing other games gets very intimidating very quickly. But yeah, okay. So what's the attendance of Warfare Weekend or Warbudgies? What would you say? Like, how many people actually end up going?
It's several hundred.
Okay.
So if I had to ballpark, I could probably hit up Gonzo to get the exact numbers, but I want to say it's several hundred. It occupies a smaller hotel. It's not like a Adepticon kind of size thing. That's not what we're dealing with here. It's a few hundred, the biggest of which are there for War Machine events. They had this giant, like, I don't even know how many tables were set up. It was an Orgoth Temple narrative event.
Ooh, yeah.
Cool.
Oh, they had 3D printed temples, and they all lit up with LEDs and all that. And I'm told the temple's 8 people, which was a good time.
As they should.
As they should.
If they're Orgoth temples.
Amazing. That does sound really fun. And everyone there is just for like War Machine or Riot Quest or Warcaster, right? Like there's not other games played?
They've been branching out some. I know there was a good amount of people there for Infinity, some for Conquest, Age of Sigmar. But the main thrust of the event is the big ballroom that is 80-90% War Machine.
All right, Mr. Gotrocks is on one tonight. Thank you.
Wow.
So people that attended, but that's not important right now. Wow.
Apparently Warbudgies won silver for his awesome demon dude.
I did. I put in a Minotaur guy and got silver in the painting competition.
Ooh. That's pretty good. Pretty good.
I was pretty pleased with. It's not as cool as Thomas Grable's gold medal and best of show, of course, but I got to slaughter him in Riot Quest that afternoon, so who's got the gold now, Thomas?
Take that.
Lots of other games at Warfare Weekend, plus painting area where geeks like Warbudgies hung out and slapped paint on goblins. I imagine he did that with his hands.
That's the only way to do it. Going back to nature.
Just embracing your like inner mountain man living in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I am using a chainsaw manual as my palette, if that helps.
Was it just you that went, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and how many days is it? It was the 1st through the 3rd, so it's just really kind of over that weekend.
Yeah, it's about 3 days. The Iron Gauntlet is like the big capstone event. I want to say that's on Sunday. Because there's the Last Chance Qualifier, which is, I believe, a Friday, Saturday, and then the big tournament's on Sunday. Or Saturday.
Oh, okay. Nice. And then were you playing in all of those, or were you just doing the RPG and Warcaster stuff?
I was just there for the RPG. I decided to be a tourist this year. Normally, I run the big Warcaster narrative event, but we had some scheduling conflicts. We ended up booked at the same time as a bunch of the War Machine stuff. So Warcaster didn't get any signups because that's how things go.
Man. Okay, fair enough. So it was more of just a scheduling issue, but maybe like next year it could be tweaked a bit to fit. Like there's still interest, I think, in the game. Or do you think some of that's gone away because no one knows where it's at right now as far as support?
a lot of it, I don't think it's gone away, but a lot of it has cooled because nobody knows what's going to happen with it.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair.
And we can't get the product
Erica
right
there?
now. What's up?
Erica from what is it, Tried and True?
No,
Was
I
that-
don't think
was
they
that crew
go.
there?
No.
No?
No, they
Oh,
weren't there.
okay. I thought that would be kind of in their neck of the woods, so I didn't know if they'd
No,
go
they
or not.
handle a lot of like full on East Coast, and as I've been reminded multiple times, Warfaire Weekend is not on the East Coast.
A little bit, no.
So
But-
it might be a little out of their way because
I
they
do
don't.
plan to run the Warcaster narrative at Adepticon.
You will? Oh, really? Oh man, I don't know that I'll be able to go to Adepticon next year.
What?
Sad day. We'll just have to find another way to see you. Maybe you'll have a reason to visit Albuquerque. I don't know.
I do need to come back down to Albuquerque and hang out with you guys.
You do.
This
You
is
wanna hang
true.
out with you. We could set that up. You could stay with us if you wanted. Make it cheap.
I know, I already offered that also. Yeah, just come stay with us. I'll feed you.
Fair enough.
And the promise of green chilies is really tempting.
Yeah, we got plenty of
That's
that
so
here.
good. I will take you to all of the best Mexican places. We even have a cool restaurant up here that you need to reserve ahead of time, and you're given a door code. Like you have to say a code to get in.
I'm thinking about
Vernon's Speakeasy.
Brennan's Speakeasy.
Yeah.
I'd like to go there at one point. I've never been.
So would I. I've never
Sounds
been. Mostly because I hate spending money on food. But Savage
That's fair.
Brewski asks, random, but has anyone got news on Warcaster? NM with or Neo Mechanica with Steamforge games, are they picking it up?
Oh, I thought it
Well-
was Warcaster, New Mexico.
I know, right? It's easy to be like, you see NM and you're like, ugh. So, and correct me if you know something different, Warbudgies, but Steamforge purchased the rights to Warcaster along with pretty much all of the other IPs of Privateer, everything short of Level 7 and Monster Apocalypse. So
Right.
it's definitely under their umbrella of stuff, but because War Machine is kind of very easily the most popular IP within that franchise, kind of followed by the P3 paints, I think they're going just in order of that priority. So they're like, no, we're keeping the app working for, War Machine. And then they recently had their Kickstarter to relaunch the P3 line. And now I guess the question will become like, or rather the answer is they certainly could pick it up at any time they wanted. I don't know if they're waiting on certain research to come through, or I don't know if it's like the type of thing where if enough people keep asking them about it, they'll respond.
So they're
I
not
mean-
like Games Workshop where every time you ask them about it, they reset the clock.
I don't. No, I mean from the little bit I've known and the little bit I've interacted with Steamforge, they actually seem like they don't have a hostile relationship with their fans. So
No.
there's
No,
that.
so-
Now I know there's been some drama because there's some other game they ran too and dropped. They didn't
Guild Ball.
have Guild Ball, did they?
Yeah.
It was Guild Ball. Okay.
It was good ball.
All these freaking game company dramas. It's really hard to keep track. So
But I have talked to Rich Loxham, who's the CEO there. I've talked to him several times about Warcaster. The summary, because it's been a lot. It's been things that they've said, things that have been hinted at and all that. The short version is they played it, they like it, they think it's a really good game, but it's going to represent a big investment to get it back off the ground because currently the production method doesn't exist because everything was in pewter and resin. So it's going to be a big lift for them to get the game rolling again. I don't know that they intend to. They've kind of been playing close to the chest on that one. But for right now, we are in what my old battle captain would characterize as limbus. We're stuck in limbus.
And I forgot to mention the IKRPG also was one of the things making a comeback. So they've sort of picked the top three things I would say.
Mhm.
Now, do you think they're still sticking with the D20 system, or will they go back
for
to the 2D6 for the IKRPG?
the IKRPG, probably. I mean, certainly for the short term. The long term, I think they would do better. Well, okay, so I think they would do better to bring back the 2D6 system, which I think was great, and then just expand it out to kind of handle the social elements a little bit more and
Yeah.
world building and make some freaking maps maybe. But but that may heavily depend on how well War Machine does, because one of the hardest challenges that game is going to have is getting back into game stores.
So I
Right,
mean,
which
that's
the starter sets are starting to hit people's shelves.
Okay, well, that's good.
yeah. I think that was a thing that just came out recently.
Yep.
I know they'd asked us if we wanted to receive one or mess around with any of it, but we've just been, our hands are full. I feel like we wouldn't give them their money's worth out of it.
Yeah,
I think Miranda's
Frozen.
camera, mic, and everything just died.
She's like mid sneeze right now.
I know. Here, let me check real quick.
Yeah, it's already been pointed out in chat. Strange Light Workshop was the last Kickstarter, and it is 5e. So unless they have a good reason to want to decouple from 5e, which is a bit of an ordeal, then they'll probably just stick with that. But that's just my guess. I'm not tied into that part of the system.
Man, apparently Miranda's computer just turned off.
Ha!
Just the whole
lovely.
thing. It's just like, no, I'm done. I'm out. Bye.
Had it.
So it's getting brought back up online. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
So in the meantime, because I never get to say this in person,
Oh.
Miranda's not looking. Everyone hail men off in chat.
Hey, you saw my I have my minifix here. I need to just finish painting it. My life-size minifix that I sculpted and made for cosplay purposes.
Oh, I need to see that.
Yeah. I
Thank
think
you, Brisky.
I think you showed it last time. Do you have an FDM printer?
I have access to several lunatic friends who print,
Oh, okay.
which is better than having a printer.
In a lot of ways, that's actually my sentiment toward resin printing. Is we have a
DJ.
guy named DJ who's like real into doing that, and it's like, oh, good. I don't have. It's not another thing I have to learn. I'm all in. But yeah, if you want, I can send you the FDM files for that, and you can print your very own symbol of Menoth to place atop a pole and wander around in your 3 feet of snow.
Oh, they got up to 6 feet last year. We're just getting started.
That sounds
Jerry
horrible.
DeBaca and Pink Toe Win, you guys are awesome. JP Got Rockets, you're just there.
You exist, I guess.
You exist.
Well, my computer decided to turn off during apparently the most flattering freeze frame of me ever. So
It
thanks.
was
looked
pretty
like
great.
you were mid sneeze.
Ah! Hooray! On
No,
the
besides,
bright
I have sort
side-
of an arrangement. I have an arrangement with our local DM for our game because he loves to resin print stuff. He just prints just to print, but he doesn't like to paint stuff very often. So it's like,
okay.
you print stuff for me, I'll paint stuff for you, and that's how I end up with weird stuff.
Sounds familiar. Feel like that's your relationship with DJ Fluffla.
Yeah, we were
I
talking
mean, I
about
haven't
that.
touched any of his stuff in a long time. Because,
Yeah.
you know,
Flo
other
got
stuff
commissions to work on.
yeah.
I'm gonna make $1.
Flow's
and I'll
popular.
send-
I'm getting there. For sure.
But what was I saying? Oh yeah, the 2d6 system. I would love to see that come back. I am not convinced that going to the D6, what is it, 5e compatible setup has
5e.
done it any favors.
Yeah.
Glory to Kador. That's right, JP. Got rockets. Okay, we're friends again.
Yeah, I tried to get your chat to hail men off, and you have 3 cool people and like 2 heretics.
Well, a lot of them will pop in and do that on your behalf anyway, so
Aw.
that's funny. My God. All right, so Warfaire Weekend next year, possibly Warcaster represented. I guess if you want to see it, message Steamforge and say, when am I getting Warcaster, and see if you can't shame them into it or something.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're going to Adepticon, we will be running a big scenic event, narrative stuff. It's the capstone event for the narrative campaign that I did on the channel.
Ooh.
So we did 5 episodes that built up to a plot point, and that plot point is going to be resolved at Adepticon.
Okay. Nice. Do you ever run online games, or is it always in person?
I have tried running online games, and I just have zero real passion for it.
It's so fundamentally different, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I meant to put this up when I introduced you. Warbudgies.
Oh, there you go.
You have a channel.
I have a channel and crap. It's been
Turns
rough
out,
since I got up
that's
here.
funny.
I do things sometimes, things and stuff. It's
Well,
weird
you
though.
have a
That
bunch of-
last,
You did the How to Learn Warcaster in 5 minutes video. That's amazing.
that's what got me the job with Privateer Press.
They're like, you really, really understand this. Thank you. It's pretty awesome.
It's good. I'm looking forward to hopefully in the spring we'll get to build the studio shed, because right now we're still contained to the 2 rooms of our log cabin.
Just stuff under construction.
No, it's a small house.
Oh.
Which we really enjoy, but I was like, I want to have a studio shed where I can have a separate structure to store things in.
Just have a proper actual studio.
Yeah. Because I had that in Virginia. There was a shed out back of the house I converted into a studio, and it was amazing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We need
sort of
sheds,
stuff
except
was-
those would all go to storage, I'm sure.
Yeah, for us.
DM Blackwell says, if you enjoy RPGs, I hope you give Horde Wars a try. Advanced should be out in January. Have you guys ever played Horde Wars?
I'm not familiar.
I don't know how I feel about RPG. Well, I know how I feel about RPGs, but I don't know that I particularly love RPGs. And I kind of should. They're so much more casual and laid back. Whereas, with a war game, you're like, okay, there's going to be a winner and a loser, usually.
So it's a little more object oriented.
Yeah. And that I have maybe grown into being more accustomed to that, because I've done both, and I've really been enjoying our Iron Kingdoms RPG that we've been doing every other week on Patty's Parlor, and that's under the old school IKRPG system, which has been really fun. And so that's cool, but I don't know, RPGs in general, I think the time commitment becomes a challenge, because it's months and months usually of having to meet up. And I know we did that. Disembodied Voice, we were part of which edition was that?
I think D&D 3.5, I want to say.
Was it 3.5?
It's the one that was
4.
is the one that was basically just a dungeon crawl.
That was
like
4.
a dungeon crawl
That
simulator. Was that
Yeah.
4?
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
4.
And we kept that up for over a year, I think.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I liked it.
It was super fun. I liked it too. But I think if someone was to be like, hey, can you make time for this new RPG? I'd be like, no, talk to me. I'm overwhelmed.
For me, the biggest part of an RPG, I don't mind getting into it. It's that I really need to have some sort of investment in the world.
Yes.
A lot of people, hey, it's Skulger. Nice.
Hey.
A lot of people really get into well, there you go. As an example, right? Skulger's our buddy from Warcraft
World of
Classic.
Warcraft, yeah.
And it's if someone's like, hey, you want to play a World of Warcraft RPG? I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. Because, I know where the Arathi Highlands are, and I know where, the Barrens are. I know where, I have an idea of the story behind each of the zones and that's what I want out of an RPG, is to actually know what's going on in the world, so that I can know how my character would behave in this world and what they might want out of the world. Where so many people that you talk to just really, really want to focus down on the game mechanics of it. And it's just I don't know. I'll even play bad game mechanics if I know the world.
I don't care about the system very much.
A good system is great, and a bad system kind of really makes it a slog a little bit. But at least you know what you're trying to do in the world, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
And now I have to have special dice. What are you doing to me? No.
This is 1d12. Probably we have a whole lot of 1d12 floating around somewhere.
Everyone needs more dice for no reason at all.
This is
All
true.
right, now you're talking Paul's language. It's hilarious. Like the best gift to get him is just more and more dice. The dice baron has done well off me.
There's something about it. I remember growing up, especially as a kid, like the non D6 dice were like weird relics or something. Nobody ever saw them. Like they're way more common now. But when I was as a kid in the late 80s, early 90s, like kind of getting into D&D and stuff like that, just having like a bag of these like weird shaped dice was just, it felt like some sort of weird magical accoutrement that you were carrying around with you. Like it's just kind of
amazing.
Yeah. Well, speaking of log cabins and RPGs.
Oh,
ooh, that was smooth.
That was a good transition. Thank you.
Look at that.
Good job.
So Valhalla, gaming retreat, not in the fall.
Not in the fall.
Yes. We got, what was it? The Bridezillas ran us out of the fall. So.
They did. I couldn't compete with the Bridezillas anymore. They came in, they beat me up, pushed me down, took my lunch money, kicked me out of October. So
they're willing to pay way more money than we are.
So we negotiated to spring.
So Valhalla gaming retreat will be, let's see, you have Miranda has the actual date that it will fall on this year, or I guess not technically this year, but
for next year.
Technically next year. Next year in less than a year. To
April 25th. So Sunday to Friday still. The 20th to the 25th. And before you point out that the 20th is Easter, yes, I know.
And that's the end of that conversation.
But it should be an ideal week. It's late spring. No, it's like mid-spring, I guess. But either way, like the winter should be certainly over. And so while there might still be snow, no one should get trapped. Which was always a risk in October. Like the later in October you went, you'd get those days. Ooh.
I remember my car completely dying one year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I remember Rich getting stuck at the bottom of the hill and having to be rescued by the bolt action guys. That was wonderful.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then, so Valhalla, casual. It'll be launching on Kickstarter this weekend, Saturday morning.
Nice.
8 a.m. Mountain Time, which is 7 a.m. Pacific Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and like 5, I don't know, in the afternoon for England.
And 6 a.m. Alaska time.
Point during the day.
And really early in Alaska. What'd you say, Flo?
And at some point during the day in England.
Yes, exactly. One of these years we'll make it to Valhalla. It's such a good event. I can't recommend it enough. And because we did move to spring, I was actually able to bring the prices down on several of the things. So, definitely make sure to check it out, especially Saturday morning. I've got early bird special deals where there's more of a discount, pretty significant discount. I think it's a good 10% off or so if you book it early. Otherwise, after a few days, it sunsets. I learned a whole bunch about how the Kickstarter is going to work. So
you're leveling up.
But yeah, what else have you got there? Disembodied voice. Anything else you want to point out?
Anything else that I want to point out
about Valhalla?
Well, we have. I have to do it this way. Sorry, I'm not quick on it.
It's okay. We're still learning how to use the internet.
I don't think it'll stick around. It's just a fad.
Probably.
We do have these for sale too.
There we will. Yeah.
It's part of the Kickstarter.
Oh,
so
slick.
There you go. If you're in here, you got the first sneak peek of what all of that stuff's going to look like. Good job. Whew. Yes.
So Valhalla is actually pretty cool. We have, so I don't know how many people are familiar with DM Scotty. He has the web YouTube channel called The DM's Craft, where he shows how to make a lot of very inexpensive and very cool
RPG terrain.
Well, RPG terrain or wargaming terrain can actually be used for either, and it's really cool. So, so yeah, he's come. Gosh, how many years now? Does he go?
4, 3,
something like that.
Yeah, at least that. where he'll come and he actually DMs a lot of role-playing games, and they are pretty fun. I've actually jumped into a few. He
Those are the
does.
only ones I ever play.
Yeah. Well, he has some that are really fun one-shots, and like Miranda and Flo were talking about earlier. They even had one that was like a survival horror, you know, kind of like Saw.
Yeah,
that
it
you
was
had to go through. And
fantastic.
there's one we played. We have a separate cabin that we have rented specifically for. It's a big long table on it and everything, and it's specifically so you can head out there and play the role-playing game without distraction, and then you go right back. It's not quite. It's a little further than walking distance from the cabin, but it's in the same little cabin area as the Valhalla cabin. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. So even when we get set up, we usually set up I guess Discord now, so that you can even kind of coordinate what you want to do for role-playing games and tabletop games and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. When do you need to have reservations in? Well, so the Kickstarter, it's kind of a bit of a new system, the way Kickstarter works now. Like they allow for late pledges and stuff. So as long as it funds, technically, like people could do late pledges as long as stuff is available. But I mean, if you're thinking you can go and you don't know right away or something, you should just reach out to me and we'll make sure you have that opportunity at least. Got Rackets, we'd love to see you.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, there's that. Shameless plug for Valhalla this weekend. Getting launched finally.
Yeah, it's a little later than we were hoping to get it launched, but we have had a busy year, so wanted to make sure when we launched it, we did it right.
Yes. Do you guys plan on playing Mark III or 4 or both on Valhalla? The last time I played War Machine at Valhalla, I think
Everybody brought Mark III, I thought.
No, people still had Mark III armies, but I think we were playing with the Mark IV rules because that's
okay.
Unless you have the old app, you can't get it anymore. I don't think you can get it anyway.
So they were doing both.
Yeah.
Last year was both, because I remember Dana was sticking with 4. Or, I'm sorry, with 3.
With 3.
And so there were Mark III games going on and Mark IV games.
Now, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
I was going to say with the several live shows back, we had this group of gamers who've been working on like a Mark III alternative, like 3.5 is what they call it. So I guess if people wanted to play that, they can too, because those are also free rules available. And if they want to just play kind of that old way, but don't have the app, say, or the old rules, then they at least would have that option too. So, Mark III is it technically does account for your Mark II models, so it's just up to you what you want to do. It's mostly the movement shenanigans that seems to have put people off of it. It still is very gamey. Like it feels more and more like a board game into Mark III than it does a war game. So it's Mark IV, I should say. Mark III also made it feel more gamey, but whatever. I had lots of opinions when Mark III came out. And that was that.
We're gamers. We never have opinions.
Oh, God, that's right. Scoldger still has Mark II. So that's okay. All of your models. Okay, so the official stance that I last heard, unless it's been changed, is all of your old models can still be played. But you may not want to play them. They might have horrible rules to them and be pointless, but you can play them.
I mean, technically, all of my old models can always be played. Technically, if I just play the older versions of the game, like
right,
all of that stuff is technically true. It's just what is the current state of the game support, and I think that's where issues that a lot of players have.
Yeah. JP asks, do you have to wear a Viking helmet in order to enter Valhalla? Only the first time.
It has to be at least some sort of Viking clothing, really, is required.
You don't have to wear a helmet, but you do have to wear a minifix, you frosty heathen.
Well, Michael Gray, I guess, pointed out that on Android, anyway, you can get the War Room 2 app. APK.
Oh, cool.
Oh, okay. I thought it wasn't there anymore, so my bad. So, yeah, I guess we could play either version. It's not like I have forgotten the Mark III rules, which were not very different than Mark II. Aye. So anyway, yes. So all that is to say that happened.
Jump back to a comment Paul made earlier. The Aliens RPG, if you're talking about the one from Free League, is an amazing game if you have a good crew.
I would accept that, Thomas, but only from you. Nice Futurama reference.
Yes, you can wear a Lucha Libre mask if you would like.
Oh my gosh. So
I mean, Quirk wore a unicorn hoodie.
onesie.
No, a unicorn pajama onesie.
Yeah.
He didn't wear it the whole time. It was a bet, and I think he made it only like 3 days or something.
He's Canadian, and so even though it was like 15 degrees out some days, he was like, it's so hot. So he did not make it, no.
I'm not sure we should ever use the phrase, well, Quirk did it, but it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good times.
Yeah. Stories from that one. Pete's Fried Chicken Gaming. Hello and welcome. I'll have to look at the Alien RPG again. Oh, so many RPGs.
It's really fun, dude. We have a Tuesday game that plays it around here.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to give that a go. But yeah, I guess Valhalla, there's a lot of the RPGs, the wargaming, and the board gaming, except for Twilight Imperium.
So as I
run a lot of board games.
Can you just play as like a Wayland Yutani
Employee?
bureaucrat?
That's actually who I'm playing right now, yeah.
But I mean one that just is a bureaucrat and they don't go on spaceships.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have 0 combat skills. I'm entirely a face character. I'm Bert, essentially, from the second one.
A what character?
A face character.
Face character, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh no, Warbudgies camera.
Warbudgies is frozen mid brushstroke.
Uh-oh.
Jeremy says they have a Blade Runner RPG by the same company. Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, you're good again.
Okay.
Nope, haven't messed with that. Never played Shadowrun either. One of these days.
But she wanted to.
I did. I wanted to.
Shadow
brother is so mean to you.
Time ago.
I say Donald was big into Shadowrun, so.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I played Shadowrun back in the 90s.
You'd think someone like me, I would have played a lot more RPGs, but nope. I did written RPGs online, but that was it.
Yes.
That's just called fan fiction.
Usually that's with a already established IP, as not what I did.
I know, I'm just giving you a hard time. So, oh gosh, what is it? Shadowrun and what was the other one? There was another one that was out at the same time that was kind of a sci-fi RPG as well. I'm trying to put my finger on it. Well, Shadowrun was kind of it was science fiction, but it was also fantasy because there was like an awakening sort of thing. So people did turn into like orcs and elves and stuff like that. Like it was kind of this weird sort of, I don't know if it was genetically hidden or unlocked history of humanity. And so whenever, I mean, there's even magic in it, I believe. So there's like mages and hackers in the same game. It's kind of interesting. Yeah.
It was very cyberpunk meets D&D.
Have you ever heard of Rifts?
Thank you. Jeremy brought it. Rifts is what I was trying to think of. Yes.
Michael Gray, I think yes. If that's the case, then I played plenty of RPGs as a kid.
I mean, they kind of do. You know what? Some of them required you to flip a coin. So that is a 2-sided dice. And so they count as an RPG.
I accept this logic.
That's fair. Pete's Fried Chicken Gaming. I was running some 40k Wrath and Glory RPG for my mates. I don't think I ever had the book. I've looked through the Wrath and Glory because that was the second RPG. There was one before that for 40k too. It just seems like playing an RPG in like a hive city or something does sound kind of brutal. Like, I don't know what your options are. And I'm sure it obviously works. It just didn't immediately have an appeal to me because everything about being in a hive city sounds miserable, except when I play Dark
Not inspiring.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like the thing I like most about playing Darktide is just kind of going through and just sort of existing in that world. It's actually really neat. Like, because normally I don't like first person games at all, but Darktide is okay because you're in a hive city.
Oh my gosh. My Warhammer, JP got rockets. My Warhammer Airsoft team used to work with a company, and we did an Aliens LARP at Origins of Gen Con. We issued the players' characters and weapons and everything.
Wow, that's
really amazing.
Warhammer Airsoft is in Airsoft Boulders. Can you imagine going to like an Airsoft arena and having a war game like battle?
I've seen I've actually seen images.
The idea.
I've actually seen images online of people putting building essentially a shell that looks like a las gun or something like that, and they put their airsoft gun inside of the las gun build.
Okay.
Yeah, so it actually is. You have a las gun, but it's shooting the airsoft pellets.
Wee.
So that's kind of cool.
That sounds like I would get my butt kicked, but it'd be really fun.
That's
I played Bureau 13 at an adventure called Night of the Living Donahue. So much fun. Bureau 13. Huh.
All I think of is that talk show from the 80s.
What talk show?
Donahue.
Oh, like Phil Donahue?
Yes. What is Night of the Living Donahue?
I don't know. It's an adventure.
Why does it imply a dead Donahue?
Oh, and Aaron and I have played some RPG one-shots, like when... Oh my gosh, what was Eric's RPG? Eric's convention, Indie Storm. When Indie Storm was a thing, we played a Cthulhu setting / Western setting RPG. It was really fun.
Cool.
I was the father and Aaron was my daughter.
So just like real life, got it.
That seems to be the relationship we have.
I mean, to be fair, that's kind of the way it ends up in like most of the RPGs you guys play.
It's true.
Aaron always wants to play a teenage girl.
And I always play the responsible adult, which sometimes is male. Black Pants Legion did an actual play of the Dark Heresy system called Magistratum Mundanus, where the characters were beat cops on a hive world. Oh my gosh. I feel like you could have a comedy of that setting, you know?
It just reminds me of Troops, that old school machinima, or not machinima, just fan film.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
Just the 40K version of it.
Bunch of 40K. I wonder if I might have had those too. Humble Bundle, like I haven't been on Humble Bundle in a long time, but I remember getting some loads of books from them. In fact, I think that's where most of my Iron Kingdoms book collection came from. Like there was a big Skull Island Expeditions clear out or something. So I have a bunch of ebooks that I read through for when we were doing the IKRPG campaign. Not like any of that lore matters anymore.
You could build a whole library off the freaking Humble Bundles.
That's true. Very easily. And I don't know, like some people have an easier time reading ebooks. I think it depends on, I don't want to read on my phone usually, but.
Agreed.
No, we played Warhammer and Airsoft.
At the same time?
But we used G36 for the guns at the event, and they looked very lasgun-like. Oh, yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Was he a cat daughter? No, he was just an incorrigible teenage daughter who was in love with some guy or something. I don't know.
That was the Cthulhu one that had
that's the one.
or something. Yeah.
She ran away from home, and so I was like looking for her. It was like our backstory worked out in like 10 minutes before the event started.
Oh, it is the Phil Donahue show.
Okay, well there you go. That, man, I guess it really is just a rich and amazing world of RPGs, isn't it? All right, Scourger. Night. Have fun at the gym. Thanks for visiting. One of these days I might see you online. I don't know. Play Gauntlet with me.
Does Scourger still play Classic at all? I wonder.
I don't know. If you're still here, do you play Classic still? Let me know. Maybe I'll come back. I know a disembodied voice would like it if I did.
Oh, is it we had so he's main tank in our guild, in our raiding guild. We only ever got one Thunder Fury. And
okay.
He got it, I think, a week before he had to leave. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
He didn't know, but it was just funny because we actually got one, and he's like, oh guys, I gotta, his job had changed or something. We're just like, oh. In
our 40k Wrath and Glory roleplay, it was 2 Space Marines, an assassin cult acolyte, and a registered psyker. They were a small team that answered to an inquisitor who sent them to investigate stuff.
That poor assassin. You guys were not a subtle crowd. 2 Space Marines and a registered psyker.
Yeah, I feel like the psyker would get more attention than the assassin. But the way the world's economy is right now, RPGs are a cheaper way to play than minis. That's true. And I suppose if you were stuck playing online as well, then it's easier to do an RPG than a miniature game. I know people love, what the heck is it, Tabletop Simulator, but let's be real.
It is about as graceful as Goat Simulator.
But because, oh right, my computer shut down, so all my stuff closed.
The Goat Simulator has a hidden nuke.
I know. I'm going to take advantage of that comment to shoehorn in my miniature spotlight that Paul sent me earlier this week to point out. This is going to be the new Adeptus Sororitas Christmas Battle Force.
Ooh.
Now, if you're playing 40k, you're already playing the Gucci of war games. We understand that, so you're not, not trying to save money doing it. But can we just take a moment to acknowledge that there are no real Sisters of Battle in this entire box set?
There's one, right? Technically, the Repentia leader, the girl with the whip.
Yeah.
Shit. Mm-hmm. Dominatrix? I don't know. I forget what they call her. But she's technically a Sister of Battle. And then technically, I guess the girls manning the guns on the rhinos can be. But I mean, Sisters of Battle are the soldiers. They have the power armor. They do all the stuff. This is an ugly set, I think. So I play
Sisters Prison Riot with tanks. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Prison Riot with tanks. Trying to find because I've got the app pulled up to try and find what you're talking about.
You should just remodel them as fire hoses on their tanks, right? They're just getting the rioters back into order. No, I don't know. I think whenever you play Sisters of Battle, these aren't the models that capture your imagination going in, right? The really cool power armor and the nuns with guns and all that stuff. That tends to do it. And especially with the new Paragon war suits and things like that, those are what capture your imagination. And so when it's this is what you get, half of which are just dudes.
Yeah. So rhinos, penitent engine, and the sarcophagus thingy, another rhino. And then, all of the
just had spares they're getting rid of.
What is?
I wonder if they just had a bunch of spares they're getting rid of.
Right. And I don't know. I don't know about the gameplay. Maybe these are fantastic to put on the table and raffle stomp your opponent, but I don't know. If I'm
They're
new
ugly.
to a war game and I'm walking in and it's just oh, what's this faction? You're I don't know. It looks kind of Mad Max-y or something. I don't know. Moving on.
Mortifier. That's the other walker.
Yeah.
I don't know. It does not seem remarkable. I guess the Repentia squad is just led by a Repentia superior. It's not a separate HQ model or anything.
No, I thought she had a specific name though.
She's a Repentia superior according to the app. So I don't know. Paul sent that to me and I was like, well, that's an ugly, super ugly set. And then
yes.
And
I concur.
It doesn't embrace what I think the Sisters of Battle are, which is fire, pew pew fire. The Seraphim Squad, amazing. What the Zephyrim now they've got. The Penitent Engine, the Paragon Warsuits, I'm fine with those. Those seem great. Those seem
Paragon
cool.
Warsuits are really cool. They have the little peaked arches built into the warsuit. Like, those seem really neat. And
then you've got stuff like the Castigator tank.
Yeah.
And immolators. But this is like Rhino transport. So what's the game? Okay, so you take your Repentia, you button them up probably between the two rhinos, drive the rhinos up the board and unload Repentia to jam up the guys while maybe the Penitent engines either go after big stuff or stand on objectives. But there's not really much you can do here.
So these models don't have, I guess the Arco flagellants or flagellants, however you want to pronounce it.
Flagellants just makes it sound like it has gas. It has gas.
Like, the Arco flatulence. Like I know they hit hard and they have some kind of feel no pain sort of action to them, so they're a little bit survivable. But then like the Sisters of Repentia aren't. You know, they have. I think they just have the Emperor Protects.
No, they're glass chainsaws from what I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, go get them. And that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, the Repentia have neural whips. I guess they have bolt pistols for some reason. I guess they gave them. That doesn't make any sense.
Repentia don't have
bolt
the pistols.
Sister Repentia.
Oh, yeah. The leader, she'll have a bolt pistol.
Yeah,
then you have the Mortifier and the that other thing you just said. I'm blanking on. And it's like those are kind of like pseudo dreadnoughts. You know, they run around a little faster, but everything is just pure melee. Just run up and go get in melee. Just get melee. Yeah. And that's it.
Well, and it's kind of funny because it's really in opposition to the most popular lists being played in 40K with Sisters right now, which are just flames everywhere. Because flames are actually really valuable. I mean, I don't know who's played 40K recently, but fire is nice because cover gets really annoying and trying to hit gets really annoying. But flames kind of avoid 2 whole dice rolls. It's awesome. Well, 1 whole dice roll. But anyway. Yeah.
I'm actually playing a bit of 40K, but it's all Tyranids because we have the Grey Narrative next week.
Are you going to that?
I'm going to that. I'm going with Matt from Midi Wargaming with his Tyranid army.
Nice.
Oh, you're doing the Tyranid thing, right? Where he's trying to build this enormous Tyranid force.
How many points did you get up to?
We're close to 3,000.
Okay.
And we're all doing the same paint scheme, so it's at least 10 people who are all going with that many points who have the same paint scheme. You
said you have 3,000.
Yes.
Right? But how much has everyone gotten so far?
Hypothetically, that one battle group should be 30,000 points because it's a battle group of 10. Everyone's bringing 3,000.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Holy smokes.
It's going to be nuts.
That's right.
That sounds awesome.
And I made the foolish decision because I was like, hey, let's narrative list. Let's do something fun. So I only took things with wings. Everything has wings. Nightmare to paint.
You haven't even gotten to the transport. I'm like, how are you going to handle transport?
Who needs a transport when you got wings?
Yeah, we're just going to go with that.
Just fly where you want to go.
It's actually not too bad because most of it is gargoyles. And then there's like harpies and hive crones, little flappy dudes, some winged hive tyrants and all that. But yeah, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be great.
I expect pictures, mister. That sounds really fun. And it shouldn't get canceled because the last narrative event got canceled because of a hurricane.
Doopsie doodle.
Yes, indeed. Let's see. I'll pick up what I need from my ladies. For my ladies from the Toledo game room at Adepticon.
Did you just open this one?
I did.
Oh, okay. I literally just clicked one too. I clicked it and I was like, what? That's not what I clicked.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Vying for control.
I was asking Paul if he's talking about 505 Ashley.
I think so.
Used to play D&D over Discord.
Hmm.
Because I didn't know she played D&D.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, actually. Oh, Paul is the opposite. He's like, F your wings. Who needs that? Except for the one-winged prime. Ha ha. Thomas, very, very clever. Yeah, Tommy, you're building up a Sisters of Battle army.
I am.
You've got plenty of models. They just need to get built now, right?
Yeah, well, I have. All right, so I have the unit of Paragons and the leader.
Morven
I forgot
Vale.
her name. Morven Vale.
It's a cool model.
Yeah, those are very cool. I have a unit of Seraphim and then 2 units of Battle Sisters.
You have the Zephyrim, actually.
Were they Zephyrim?
They were Zephyrim. Not...
I always forget which ones are the ones with the guns. Those are the Zephyrim.
The Seraphim should be. Yeah, the ones you got downstairs have swords.
Oh, okay. Okay, so the regular Seraphim, they're the ones with the
guns.
dual pistols.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those are the original ones. And so we kind of have that set up, and then I have a few rhinos that are put together. They just need to be repainted, and I have actually years ago I had a Exorcist. I had an Exorcist, but it's the old one where it had all the pewter like armor plates that came with it that made it weigh a ton. And so I ended up taking those plates and I glued them down to a surface and poured silicone over them, made a mold, like an open face mold for those so that I could recast them in resin so that the tank wouldn't weigh 20 pounds. And so like, because it was everything. It's like if you take a plastic rhino and then you put these pewter plates all over it, and the big pipe organ on the back was also pewter, and like like everything you added to it was pewter. So the whole thing was just this heavy, like, is ridiculous. I almost wanted to do a wheelie all the time. So I'd recast them so it'd be lighter. But now because the Exorcist just looks different in general, I want to take those armor plates and just use them to armor up all the rhinos, just kind of give them a cool specialized look. So I need to see if I have any resin left and cast some more of those armor plates to put on my rhinos. And then I have an Exorcist and an Immolator and the Castigator. Is that the tank?
Yeah,
they have the tank with the barrel. I guess they're all tanks, but the one with the battle cannon on it. And so I still have all that to assemble. So I have half of a Sister's army assembled right now.
Somewhat, yeah. Let's see if I can shrink this in a little bit. That's a little better. I grabbed a Frontline Gaming thing because Sisters, you know, they have their hideous box set, but they're not the only ones with stuff. We got some Necrons. You got a Catan, I guess. Yeah, there you go.
The Hypercrypt Legion.
Hypercrypt. Necron Warriors, they're good. They don't die, ever. You kill them, and you're like, okay, I just roll and get all of them back. You can't kill. And especially when, people always run them in 20-man blobs.
Yep.
There's that.
Or nothing.
Crisis suits for battle suits. I'm sorry, for the Tau.
Is that really it? 5 dudes? That's the army? That's kind of great. Actually,
yeah, I know.
It's very Tau.
Broadside, Ghost Keel, Enforcer.
I guess a bunch of little drones buzzing around, but yeah, it's actually kind of really like that. There's no infantry. There's just dudes in suits.
Sisters of Battle will always be the army that broke my heart. Someone stole my army transport with $2,000 worth of them back when they were witch hunters, which put me off war games for approximately 10 years. You know, the worst thing about that is usually people aren't stealing miniatures. They're stealing a case that they think has like camera equipment or something in it.
Has like a gun in it or camera, something they can pawn. And so you know that whenever they get to wherever they are and they open it up and see that it's like toys, they just throw it away.
Yeah, they're just pissed.
And so it's not even like anything was done with it. It would literally was just trashed or whatever. We had a friend of ours that had cases of miniatures stolen out of his trunk at an apartment complex when he was just getting them packed. He'd run back up to the apartment and back down, and they were already gone. And it just sucks because whoever the type of people that do that probably aren't war gamers. On the weekend, if no other reason, just statistically, you can imagine they're not. And so like,
he said it
that
was from
doesn't do anything to him.
his game store. What the heck? What's wrong with people?
Well, it's
Ooh, we
like,
got
Night,
a super
Alfonso.
chat. Alfonso, thank you so much. Good night, everyone. Have the greatest evening and good luck on the Valhalla Kickstarter. Well, thank you so much, sir.
thanks, man.
Appreciate you. Have a great night yourself. It's even worse. They did new. Oh, man.
And what's like, what do you do with that? I guess, are they planning on repainting all your miniatures?
No, they probably just try to sell them online.
Just sell them on eBay or something, I
Yeah,
guess?
probably. That's BS, though.
But all you have to do is go on eBay and just see if your miniatures are being sold, and then you report them to eBay. Like, I don't know. It's so weird.
I don't know what that process looks like, honestly. Like, theoretically, yes, you should be able to do that. But now
I am positive eBay has something set up where you can reach out and go, hey, this is my stuff someone stole from me. I can only imagine that happens on eBay like 400 times every day.
What was Valiant Rack's opinion on the Dark Angels box set, Paul?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that one actually looks like a really good... Wait a minute. Who's leading it?
So that's Lionel
Lion.
Johnson.
That has an actual Lionel Johnson there.
It
huh?
does. It does.
Hells
So that's
yeah.
probably a good deal.
Well, that's a hell of a
That's Charles
box.
Dance.
Task Force. Terminator armor, Chaplain, Deathwing Knights. I mean, that one looks pretty cool.
That is a really good set, especially for the same... if you're paying the same amount for each of them,
Which I suspect you are.
that beats the
much
socks
is
off of the Sister Battle one.
I
Oh,
want to say they're around 240 or something. I can't remember what they...
That's not bad, yeah.
Wow, they even have a knight
Yeah, an
strike
Imperial
lance.
Knights box, Valor Strike Lance.
That's cool.
I'm going to have to agree. The sisters did not bring... They kind of brought a knife to a gunfight on this one.
Well,
Yeah.
now, I mean, it was ugly out the gate, and now, like, comparing to everything else on here, you're like, oh.
Yeah, like
Oh.
even if it's a good monetary deal, like, oh, these miniatures are usually more expensive. They're still ugly. It's still not a cool looking set, you know.
Barrick was saying it has Lion, the new Deathwing Terminators, Chaplain, most variation and fun. Yeah. I mean, the Knights could be kind of fun. The little the little armatures are fun, but yeah, I think easily the winner here is the Dark Angels Battle Force. You might have some fun with the Tau, I don't know. And
the Tau one gets a honorary mention for me just because it's a bunch of it's like a handful of models and just like high quality dudes in suits. It's kind of fun.
When you look at it by comparison, the Penitent Crusader host, it really is just like, here's the leftovers. Enjoy your transports.
Nerd.
It's a dick move. What do you want? Oh, how frustrating. I'm offended. Anyway, the Knights box can also be gussied up as Chaos Knights, but doesn't include the bits for Castellans. Nerd.
Good sign, Paul.
Wow, your dude has a face now. You've gotten some progress on him.
He does. It's kind of hard to see because my lighting sucks because of Alaska, but he's actually got like actual muscle tone now.
Because
No,
Alaska.
he's ripped.
No, it's 6 p.m.
Photons behave differently in Alaska.
Yeah. Well, it's 6 p.m. and it is like dark outside.
Yeah.
Like normally there's a window behind the monitor I can open up and get some natural light. There's nothing right now.
I mean, 6 p.m. is pretty dark here too, honestly.
Yeah.
But when will it become light again for you?
About 10 in the morning. We are in.
I mean,
that
to
time
be
of
fair,
year.
I wouldn't know the difference.
You wouldn't. I would be miserable.
It takes some getting used to.
Well,
there you go. JP's got you back.
I'm a weird insomniac anyway. So like the whole like, oh no, it's daytime for like 3 weeks or whatever. It's like I don't even know if I would notice. To be entirely honest.
Oh my god.
It was fun because we have to have a bunch of blackout curtains in the summer because it's like, oh, it's 11 o'clock at night and it's still bright as freaking day outside.
Yeah, I wouldn't notice either. We tend to live with things blocking out, like blackout curtains, just normally. And we're in New Mexico.
Well, it makes for good insulation and a little bit of sound dampening. It's actually multifunctionally useful.
That's fair.
So, indeed. But your guy's looking really good. Flo, your guy looks monochrome.
Yeah, he looks completely
Yeah,
black
well,
and
I've been
white.
working on
That's
3
fun.
different ones. So
I'm not kidding. I mean, I'm giving you shit only in like a joke.
What you
I
need to
mean,
do
they're
now
white
is
scarves, so they're going to be pretty monochrome. I mean, some splash of red, you know.
No, what you need to do now is you need to get that that fluorescent paint that lights up under the black light.
Yes.
And then you can make those little Tron. That's gonna be Tron motorcycles.
That would be
Tron
amazing.
bikes.
We have to convince Louise. Like, so check this out. Hear me out.
So we've got this idea, you see.
It'll be painted exactly the way you want, except when the lights go out. Oh, what an amazing thing. I love it. No, you guys are doing great. I just love the variety there. Makes me want to paint, except I'm usually reading chat. And so if I'm painting and chatting, I'm doing one or the other. And then I do both badly.
You've got responsibilities.
I do need to get back to some assembly though. I because of the timing of us launching the Kickstarter and we're getting ready to go to town next week for a thing. I wanted to assemble my next Rogaldorn tank, and I was going to. There was a tournament coming up this weekend that was like all the tanks, bring all tanks. So I wanted to get my second Dorn put together just so I could make a list called Double Dorn Dare You. Gonna have to wait until later.
I'm very proud to know you, Miranda.
You love me some dad jokes. Army Painter has several of those blacklight paints for their new Fanatics line. I'm using them now for my cult of Le Chevauche. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Thanksgiving. Exactly. Actually, it is Thanksgiving. Thank you. Double door. Thank you, Paul. I was very proud of myself. Yes. So I actually at Nova this last year in the War Machine crew, there were several painted War Machine armies where people had the blacklight the light reactive paint going on, and they looked awesome. It really just added this whole other depth to it. Last week I was up where Katie and Sergeant Steele lives. I was remodeling a McDonald's. Ooh, fun times. That's cool. That's a nice part of the country. I have ordered a turkey-shaped mech specifically for my Thanksgiving event. Okay.
So this is a little bit random, but I ran across this the other day, and Flo's Miniatures reminded me of it. So I'll see if I can kick it on here.
Oh boy.
But I ran across some guy who had built this thing, and it looks like a Space Marine motorcycle to me. Like, look at the tires on it and where they are.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
right?
The one from Batman?
No, this is a scratch build. The guy just sort of made it, but see if I can find a better. There you go. See, some state troopers are just checking it out, but they walk around it, and you can see like the wheels on it. It reminds me of a Space Marine.
Oh wow! Other than it being too lean, like it needs more strap on it. But...
Like you'd need to up armor it, like build armor. But the width of those tires always remind me of the Space Marine like GW bike tires, right?
Wow.
And so I saw this and I was like, oh my God, you could convert that into a Space Marine motorcycle. Like so easy.
I know. And you could definitely make a Space Marine helmet out of your motorcycle helmet, right?
Yeah.
Just driving around like, that'd be so fun.
But yeah, you see that thing and you're just like, there we go. So you could just kind of see it there, but those tires.
Well, look at the wheel compared to the vehicle behind it. Like,
oh yeah, no, it's like to scale of what a Space Marine motorcycle would be too.
holy shnikes.
So look at that. There's a
telling you.
cosplay ready to happen. You just got to reach out to this guy. Be like, all right, you're halfway there. Just because you got it running doesn't mean you're done.
I'm painting my wife's new Kador, a candy apple red metallic. Ooh, sounds pretty.
Huh.
I mean,
Just get fancy, Kador.
Kador does wear red well. And maybe in the future lore, they can stop making them the cartoon villains of every single book and story. Such cheap writing.
You know, I have a hard time understanding that whenever like Crix exists. You know,
Right? No, they're like, no, there's depth to Crix. We really like Denegra and Haley's, deep story. Anyway, Kador,
what a
mustache
fascinating.
twirling Urisk running around.
You mean the multifaceted and deep, character motivations behind, the followers of the Allfather.
I mean, okay, so
Kador, on the other hand, they're just bad guys. Don't worry, they have
the
no
thing.
human emotions behind what they do.
Did you read much of the lore, Warbudgies? You
Yeah.
did, right? Yeah. So I learned the other day when I was on 40K Theories, I was hanging out with them, and they were talking about all of the different books that GW has, right? The Black Library is massively extensive.
Mhm.
And I realized on the Black Library website, there are genres of the books. You've got, 40K, Horus Heresy, Age of Sigmar, but then you've got Warhammer Horror. And
Warhammer Crime. Yeah.
crime, Warhammer crime. Exactly. I was like, is this for the ladies? Like, well, I mean, mystery novels.
I know
and
what you
crime
mean.
novels. Yeah, like very popular and to specifically separate it out that way. Apparently it's not a great way of learning just general 40K, about Space Marines or anything, but you do get more.
I guess you learn about hive cities.
Yeah, like just it's set in the hive cities and just urban adventure, urban mystery stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't read any of them, but I saw that and I was like, man, if War Machine, continues to get lore written and hopefully it does, and hopefully it's a little better, wouldn't it be interesting to see other types of genres there? Not necessarily War Machine crime. Could you imagine? Bear with me. What about the romance stories we never heard expanded on? In
Like you could tell they dipped their toe in it because they wanted to. They wanted to have like a novel cover with Vlad, bare chested and long hair flowing with like Sorsha kind of like draped over him.
Okay, yes, Michael, yes. I love that.
That's fantastic.
Yes, I would love to see more writings.
Murder
with the
of
old
Crows,
really,
she wrote.
That's so good.
Okay. Michael wins today.
Michael wins today. Best comment of the day. But yeah, wouldn't it be great to see that lore come back? But I wonder with the way war games and these IPs have all expanded, if it makes sense to have the books more genre'd out, like caper adventure, or major warfare engagements. I wonder if that would even help with people trying to learn about the lore and not having any clue where to start. They're like, I don't know, do I pick up this? Oh, was this the second in a trilogy? Like, it's really easy to get lost with a lot of the lore.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I noticed that and I was like, I wish that could apply to War Machine. And it's like, don't get me wrong, like War Machine were awful romance, like awful. And I don't care for romance anyway. And it was still just, it was worse than Twilight. It was worse.
Whoa, no.
It was actually a worse story than Twilight, with the touching on like Sorsha and Vlad's relationship. You're like, please just stop talking right now. Please stop writing whatever you're writing. I don't want to hear it.
You're saying it's a worse love story than episode 2?
Oh, that was really bad too. I don't know.
That one hurt, I could tell.
We'll have to see. Jeremy, I got pissed off the other day because I was looking at Drop Fleet Commander and they renamed ships because they shared names with prominent Russian cities. Yeah, at some point you gotta.
Well, it's like, what was it? Wow, I just blanked on him. Archer, like the Archer animated series.
ISIS, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the name of their organization was ISIS, and then whenever the terrorist organization came out, they renamed it. I was like, no, you should lean into it. It's much funnier if you just do that. It's not like the show was appropriate to begin with. Like,
yeah,
no,
most of the
now
humor
worried
was
about offending people.
Oh, yeah, right. It's like almost all of their humor was wildly inappropriate. Why stop now?
There's a Disciple of Old Witch coming out. That's kind of intriguing.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Is that
I mean, it's one of the reasons, I guess, to pay for the app if you're going to pay for the Mark IV app, because that's how you get the lore anymore. It's kind of the only way to get the lore right now, which is not my favorite. But
I would like a wiki, but I understand that would be a huge undertaking.
Yeah. Although I wonder if you could crowdsource that. Romance and Wargaming Universe reminds me of the scene from Spaceballs where Dark Helmet is playing with the action figures. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're just toys anyway. Oh, God. Shut up, Jeremy.
We're not going to dignify that by reading it.
I'm not going to dignify. No.
I have to step away for a second, so I'm putting Krios in charge.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure the actual quote from Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Princess Leia. Why am I blanking on her name?
Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher, thank you. Was that they said, you can write it, you just can't speak it.
Spaceballs was a wonderful flick. They don't need a sequel, though. It's fine. Yeah, I don't know. Wargaming lore, wargaming books. One, I think books are still important and probably shouldn't all be digitalized, but wouldn't War Machine do better to break out those books into more genres?
It's something that I guess in a lot of ways movies are kind of falling into as well. It's something, there's a certain, what do you call it? Like,
just download it.
It devalues kind of your product, right? Like, music kind of started learning that too, earlier before even movies did. And so it's like when people no longer bought albums, like songs were made a lot more disposable. They weren't as precious as they used to be. And movies are seeing that sort of thing with like physically going out to the movie theater to see them or buying like the Blu-ray or something for it. And so with everything streaming, it kind of devalues, your movie. It makes your movies a lot more forgettable, a lot more, they just sort of easy come, easy go. And I do feel like a lot of games kind of fall that way whenever everything is just like, you just download it, it's on your phone, but you never really bought that game. Or even if you paid money, it's just some sort of software you got on your phone that when you get a new one, you just won't bother to update it and bring it over with it or whatever. I think it does kind of cheapen what it is you're making. It just makes it feel more like content than it feels like an actual story or an actual, like, I don't know, a game that has value.
All right. I'm just going to present this here since it was sent to me. Thank you very much, Michael, for posting that. So here is that candy apple red.
That is shiny.
That shine.
Oh, wow.
That is fantastic. A polished jack. Heck yeah, dude.
What's on the mace? That's an interesting, zoom in on that guy.
Gold dusting. Okay, so we got some glow effects
over the black, I guess. That's kind of cool looking too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting effect.
Didn't mean to put you up on the internet there, but oh man, it was so shiny and it's Kador, and I have to put it up. Ooh, so pretty. I miss my jacks. War jacks were such an amazing concept.
They're really cool.
Streaming music has meant that solo artists become much more common than bands.
Yes.
Apparently, most discovery for music is through TikTok now. How sad is that?
No, it's a major, I guess, commonly known knowledge right now in the music industry is that you have to actually you have to write your songs to have a 30-second hook in them somewhere. because that's all you're going to play, and that's all anyone wants to play of your song, and your song gets mostly discovered on TikTok.
That hurts.
It's just like, wow. I remember big fan of like Pearl Jam. The 10 album is it's kind of a masterpiece. The Downward Spiral is a masterpiece of an album. Like the
well, it was
Nevermind
as an album, right? The album would have a whole theme, and I guess, and I've never listened to a Taylor Swift album in my life, but I am told that the album has like a theme going on with it, right?
I'm
Albums
shocked, I
always
tell
had
you.
themes. I know, right? Not a Swiftie. But albums always, and rock always had themes going on. Tool and
well, it's like weird because, I guess it's generational maybe in a way, but a lot of times when I hear a song, when it's over, I hear the next song in my head.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like in my mind, the next song.
We're all old,
right?
The next song on the album.
But I don't know that music has done well for it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of artists have a harder time making a living as musicians in today's world, largely because music is so disposable right now.
Well,
it's a good word for it.
Yeah. So on the one hand, everything's become incredibly accessible. On the other, it's crowded.
Well, so it's kind of a double-edged sword in a way, because on the one hand you would, there you go, Jeremy's got it right. And so like on the one hand, it's like you had gatekeepers that kept a lot of people. Oh my gosh.
Sorry, that's me.
Oh, okay.
Weird gas.
But like on the one hand, you had gatekeepers that, made it hard for people to get their music out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look at it even in the gaming world, right? Like I worked at War Games West in the 90s, and we would see even, kind of low budget people would try to publish their games and stuff, but it was hard because you had to have a certain barrier to entry. It required a certain amount of you had to raise a certain amount of money just to print books so that you could even sell them to a distribution company, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that you could even try to get them into game stores. And, music was that way, movies that way, like anything that we look at as entertainment. And it's like the more the easier they get to create, and especially in a digital format, the more available they are to everybody. But the problem is the moment they're more available, they're more available, which means 10,000 people are putting them out. And most of them are bad, because those same people who were gatekeepers that kind of suck because they're gatekeepers, they were also sort of the, I don't know if I'd call them taste makers or curators, like taste discoverers. And so a lot of times you realize that a lot of the people who were kept out of the gate were kept out of the gate because they weren't ready to go through it yet. Like the stuff they were making just didn't pass muster, right? And so now, the signal to noise ratio was better in a way because you would miss certain things, but now there's just so much noise, it's hard to find a signal. There's so many things out there, it's hard to find just something that you want to listen to or a game that you want to play or whatever. They're just very difficult. And I feel like some of it has to do with what was it? We, maybe talk about it last or 2 weeks ago, when we had Patty on here, because he does independent games, and it's just hard to get anyone to see it because there is so much noise out there. It's hard to find a signal or hard to create a signal.
I think I listened to Murdering Corvus. Yes, this is Thomas's model, which is absolutely incredible. I just realized now I can actually share this stuff as people are sharing it with me online. Holy cow.
Yeah, that was Best in Show Warfare Weekend, and it was, it stood out in the case.
Look
easily.
at those details. Cool. His tongue is painted.
His drool is painted.
Well, I love that you can see the actual winding on the rope. That goes a long way. The little individual strands are highlighted.
Wow. That is, of course you got Best in Show. That's incredible. Great job.
Looks fantastic.
That is great. We had another one post too. If everyone's fine with me sharing it, I figure if you posted it online, it's okay. Hopefully, just just a matter of remembering who's who here. Today's music is bubblegum music. You put a quarter in, you get a song. Okay, yeah.
Oh,
I can see
yeah,
that.
interesting.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's an interesting way of putting it. And so I do think it goes over not just to music, but movies, also games. A lot of video games go that way, but books. Authors, I think, run into that a lot, especially now because you can just upload things digitally, and it's like, okay, now how do you get anyone to know your book exists or to give it a try? Because there are so many others out there.
That is a trick. And then
Oh, that looks great.
Whoa.
yeah.
I love that.
Very talented people in this chat. Oh my gosh. You can just imagine being in that world.
Yeah, I love that.
This was Dexter's. And I'm trying to remember his username on here. You'll remind me. But it's so good. Oh my gosh. That thatch roof caught it, like thatch roof.
Thatch roof cottages.
I know. The fence post, just you can imagine like playing in an RPG and walking into this town. And you're like, that is so cool. Holy crap.
Countryside.
It made me happy. Miranda and I were out walking a few nights ago. Walked across a guy who had his Jeep parked out in the street, and he had a Trogdor the Burninator sticker on the side of his Jeep.
Yes.
So random.
We were just
I
like,
actually
what?
I saw someone with a vanity license plate that was Trogdor.
That's great.
I do appreciate that.
Sorry, not to draw away. It's just, the moment you have thatch roof cottages, like, what are you going to do?
Attracting people to IP is tough. Sail Power and Tech Commander have been around for nearly 20 years now, and getting noticed is difficult.
Yeah.
Social media's presence is tough to establish. Well, part of it's like, what's your goal, right? I mean, who's your target audience? Are you harnessing the power of influencers? Are you attending conventions? I remember talking to, I don't know if he still is, but I think he was the CEO or head honcho at CMON several years ago. And they make the game Dark Age. Beautiful models, interesting rule set.
Been around for
years. For a long time. And they're like, yeah, we go to conventions. We always sell these models. Like, people really seem to enjoy them at conventions, but they don't seem to find presence in game stores. And so if people are playing them, they're just playing them like in their house, which means nobody knows except for that select group of people in the house, right? Because being in a game store, you're kind of playing a public game.
Yeah.
And that's how it gets out there. But that, yeah.
And it's why you kind of need almost, so like if you're designing a game or something, you almost need to try to hit some sort of critical mass where you have at least somewhat of a ground team. Somebody like if you can find a few people at a few game stores in cities that are close to each other, then you can start to build something that resembles kind of a gaming ecosystem, right? Like people in a few different fairly close places, only a few hours apart, that will actually travel to play at a grand tournament once a year. Then I think you can actually get those metas to do well because they can always be looking forward to like participating in a little bit larger event. And if you have, one or two people at 3 or 4 stores that'll actually, what do you call it? They're almost zealots for your game.
Yeah, you need.
Then you're good. Then you got it, right? But you have to hit that critical mass. Your game has to be substantial enough that you can get a few people interested in it. And so if it's this tiny little thing, it's hard to get even a few fanatics on board with it, to even convince them that no, I'll be around in a year, I swear.
What about the idea that there's too many blister packs? Because Infinity has had very significant tournaments, and so has War Machine, but I don't know that I've ever seen like a convention played Dark Age tournament.
Well, Infinity mostly was sold in box sets. You bought kind of a team, or a crew or whatever you call it. Usually you bought several in a specific box set.
Yeah, the faction boxes.
Yeah. And so for that, it's like, because I understand game stores, they got to account for how much wall space they got, shelf space, like it's got to be something that's worthwhile putting on the shelf. And so I would even give advice to even future game designers that if you are going to have miniatures for your game, well, you need something that can be redundant.
Yeah.
You know, like not a lot of just named solo characters or something. You want something that, I mean, how many times can you buy a pack of, Space Marines?
Unlimited.
Right?
I'm glad you asked.
It's like how many rhinos do you buy before you're done? And you're like, I never need another rhino. Like 40K really leaves itself open for that. So if a game store is like, I'm going to put a Land Raider on the shelf, that thing's going to sell. It just is.
Yeah.
It's not going to sit on your shelf for 2 years, And so when you design a game, you really got to figure that out. Whereas I know War Machine had a hard time with it because unless you're a very savvy game store owner who plays War Machine, it's like, what's the difference between this Warjack and that one? It's like, well, you're likely to sell this Warjack and that one will never sell ever. And it's like, oh, how would I know that? And it's like, you have to play the game to know, and it's like, it's the sort of thing where, I mean, if you're going to get game stores involved, you gotta do it. And I do think that in today's world, you can't just do a Kickstarter, because you do a Kickstarter, you sell like 1,000 miniatures and they go to every corner of the world. And while, you have 1,000 people that bought your stuff, like you're lucky if 3 of them live next to someone else who even plays. You know what I mean?
You don't have the community.
Yeah. So you have to look at growing, like planting seeds in specific areas and trying to get a handful of actual like small communities that play your game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's very important to do. And so that's how I would argue that's how you combat the signal to noise ratio idea. And I know the conversation kind of got started with like everything being on a PDF,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And everything being, trivialized.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, for established IPs can kind of do that. But even then, I don't know how well you can do it. I mean, we just watched War Machine was a really big established IP, and another company had to come in and try to save them. And we're going to see how that turns out. But I do feel like if all they do is just a bunch of digital downloads, digital things, apps on your phone, all of that, I think it'll be very hard for it to catch,
Well, Hudson mentions about paying retail and not doing online orders if you want a store to play. And I know that our game stores here in town, and I suspect this is the trend that's caught on, is that, yeah, you go to your local game store, and if there's a box of something on the shelf, you can buy it there. But they offer a discount for pre-orders, or if they have to order it, they'll give you like 20% off, which suddenly makes it a lot more attractive and less painful to be like, oh, the retail pinch versus just getting it online yourself. Because now it's coming into your game store. You have an excuse to kind of come back in and pick it up. And then you're meeting with your friends and seeing what else is there. So that, I think, is kind of a really good in-between, because the store is still getting the order. And yeah, you're paying a little bit more, but now it's way more easier to justify, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it builds it in 2 ways. One, if you're actually meeting, once a week or every couple of weeks at a game store to play this game, well, then it's nice to have product there on the shelf so you can have impulse buys and you can do stuff like that. If you're having to order it a lot, well, then you just order it from Amazon. You just show up with stuff. And so the game store didn't get much out of it unless you buy some sodas and candy bars from them or something while you're there, right?
Which usually is available now too in stores.
And so I do think that it's the in-game, or what is it? The in-store, in-person experience is going to become a lot more and more important for war games that aren't Warhammer 40K. Like it has to, like, I do feel like people are going to have to feel like there's a community that they come in and they play games with and they enjoy your property at an actual location.
I don't know where you're able to get something the next day, Jeremy, but that certainly has not been my experience.
Well, he does live in Washington, right? So, so like the Amazon headquarters.
All right, buying miniatures off
drone
Amazon
it to his backyard.
Buying miniatures on Amazon is an awful, awful experience. are hardly ever any cheaper, frankly. And they're usually through some like weird third party. They're not direct. And no, like, again, I guess I don't mind waiting for that discount because I'm not ever in a super hurry to get any of my miniatures anyway, because I'm so backed up. Like, a week is nothing to me. I'll be like, oh, did I order that? Oh, shoot, I should go pick it up. Usually is where I'm at. So, I don't know if most people fall into like needing it just the next day, unless you're in a hurry because you failed to plan for a tournament or something.
I think he just
There
leaves
is
his
no way
window
we're getting
open.
anything next day up here.
Yeah. I mean, that's the trade-off, right?
Yeah.
You don't live in Alaska so that you can have access to a lot of things.
But yeah, seeing the fan organizer stuff you do see it to some extent. It's just, it can't, game companies are so terrified of supporting that stuff now. So
we had two guys here in town, and it's a lesson I will always take with me, because we had two guys here in town that turned Infinity from like something nobody played to essentially Albuquerque having literally the largest Infinity tournament in the world.
Oh,
and
wow.
it was just two guys that just got into it, and they were just like, down to the point where they're like, hey, if you they would put a paper on the wall, like pen the paper, and they're like, hey, here's my phone number or my email. Reach out to me if you would like me to give you a demo of this game. I'll buy you a box, one of the little starter boxes. And I'm sure they're being supported somewhat by Corvus Belli, but it was like, yeah, if you just want to try the game out, I'll buy you a little army to play. And I watched them keep at it for it's like 2 years maybe. And just those guys were all in. I don't know how they got all in. I don't know how you inspire that kind of zeal from a player base, but those guys were in, and they literally built a freaking kingdom out here. And you go out and actually look at when you go to the tournament, gosh, how many tables did they have? And everything was fully painted. It's some of the coolest and fullest terrain tables I've seen anywhere.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. Well, we are actually quite a bit over time since we decided to kind of get on that bit of a rant, which was interesting. Don't get me wrong. I just realized the time here, so we probably should go ahead and start our wind down here. But yes, I agree. Games need champions because we play in a physical medium, and you can't just digitize it all. And the closer you get to that, the more irrelevant your game becomes.
Yes.
And game stores need champions too.
Because the concept of a third place, third home, I think it's third space.
I think it's third. Oh, maybe it is space.
Yeah.
Place or
you
space,
got your home, your work, and then somewhere else you go that you're not necessarily paying out the butt to be in, and you can hang out and enjoy yourself. We have so few of those anymore. Skate parks are empty. Where else are even hangouts that you don't have to spend a bunch of money? I don't even know. So game stores, great to have. Yeah, we're gonna sign out here. Thank you again, Warbudgies, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Oh,
nice
your
to
miniature
see
got
you
started.
again.
Yeah, thank you.
Fuck you, I guess.
And I'll be replying to people in the comments if you want to keep commenting, since we've got a sweet outro that's always enjoyable to see. So thank you guys, and we'll see you back in 2 weeks, which, yes, will be the day before Thanksgiving. So, but I'll have another guest on that. I'll announce it later. But you'll see. So hopefully we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Barry, cover me. All right, guys, this is it. Copy that. wrong with this place? I'm in the west corridor. I'm right outside the generator room. I'm out of bullets.